we're here to do a little bit of testing and perhaps dispel some myths, perhaps not. We'll wait and see, won't we, really? Plan is today is to take this bike that we've got on here, which is currently fitted with a Michelin Pilot road tyre. And the myth being, do different tyres give different readings on the rolling road? And it's generally accepted that a softer tyre will show less horsepower on the rolling road for the reason that there's an awful lot of friction being created and it's not spinning the drummers freely, because at the end of the day, a rolling road can only work by spinning a known mass at a given speed. So it can work that out with its various pickup points. It knows the weight of the drum, and depending on how fast that drum is accelerated is how it works out brake horsepower. That's in its simplicity, but essentially that's what it is. So what my plan is to pull some runs on this till we get a peak horsepower figure. I say pull some runs, plural, not one run, because one run's not enough. You've got to keep pulling runs until you get a consistent number. That's where you know your starting point is. Then we're going to take the wheel out. We're going to pop a soft race tyre on, and we're going to do exactly the same. And then we'll have a little look at the results and analyse it from there. Now, to keep it all consistent, my plan is to use the same tyre pressure. Also, break out this bad boy. We're going to strap it down the same amount, and we'll know that by taking a measurement from a point here on the subframe down to the dyno, and when we re-strap it, we'll strap it at that same point so we know the bike's got the same tension. And for all runs, I'll be sitting on the bike. Now, I don't know if you've seen some of my previous videos, sometimes I don't normally sit on the bike. I've got a false leg. It can be quite uncomfortable, believe it or not, with it digging in my back, so I normally stand next to the bike, and that doesn't put any load through the suspension or anything like that, other than what's ratcheted on. So I'll keep everything consistent, and then we'll have a look at the runs. So let's go see what we can find. So there we have it. There's the two runs overlaid. You can see there that our previous run, which was the best on this bike, 201.43. We took that tyre out, we put an SCX in, strapped it down to the same amount, we ran the same pressure. Then I warmed the tyre up, because obviously we didn't want it on a cold tyre. So I did some running till we got some temperature into that tyre. Then I started to pull runs, and we got 193.9. And just to show, there was also another run, but I didn't label it up, 193.96. So that proves we were getting to consistency. So we are down, what's that? 7 horsepower. So a 7 horsepower loss. Well, it didn't lose power, did it? The engine still makes power, but it's how the dyno recorded that power. That's the point there, isn't it, really? So, something to bear in mind. If somebody comes to us here in the shop and it's a track bike with a soft tyre, we always ask the question, are you a mapping person or are you a numbers person? If they're a numbers person, then we need to fit a harder road tyre. If they're a mapping person, I'm just looking for relative gain, because that's the key. Where do you start? Where do you finish? Changes making gains, changes making losses. Doesn't matter what tyre's in it and how it's recording, it comes down to the fact that you're seeing that relative change, better or for worse. So you know that your mapping is doing what it needs to be doing. But ultimately, if you want the big number at the end, then a harder tyre is the way to go. Obviously, not too hard that it doesn't grip and it spins, so you always need to get some heat into it. But ultimately, that compound, the way it creates friction on the drum, the way the drum obviously translates to how it works out the BHP and the torque, softer tyres record lower. Something to always bear in mind, and different tyres seem to do different readings. I've noticed with a really ultra soft sort of VO2s and KRs and the R11s, I think it is, but the Bridgestone race tyres, they seem to record quite a lot less than others. So if we've got like a soft tyre on a bike and someone was expecting 125, for instance, say out of a certain 600, and we're only getting 122, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be 125 if we put a hard tyre in there. So that's something to bear in mind. So interesting test. We've never done the actual test before. It's something that we knew, but we'd never tested categorically and proved it to you guys out there. So something to think about. If you're bringing your bike to the dyno, you want numbers, you know, fit a road tyre to it before you come down. We can here, of course. It's going to cost you a couple of quid extra, but we can do that here. We keep a couple of dyno tyres on our shelves. And if you get a low number and you're kind of a bit disappointed, and if you get, well, I was expecting it to make X and it's only sort of, I don't know, 3, 4 off that, but you've got a soft tyre in it, there's every chance it could be that. And the only way to ever know is to whip it out, put a hard tyre in, put it on. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to watch this. That was our tyre test to see, does a softer tyre record differently on the dyno? Well, this shows it. Yes, it does.